What's up, y'all? It's Truth Tiger, and today I'm going to talk about the truth. You know, it's in my channel name, Truth Tiger, and I'm going to tell you today that the truth is not a very popular thing. When you look around at the world, it's filled with lies, it's filled with deception, the government lies, organized religion lies. I follow Jesus Christ, by the way, but organized religion lies, and it's filled with deception. The corporate world lies. All this political stuff is full of deception. The media is full of deception, and just most people are being deceived by their own ego, and they're being deceived by the system, and they're not living a life of truth. Well, the thing about the truth is it sets you free, and the truth is powerful. The truth is very powerful, but it gets covered up by the deception of the world. And here's the thing about the truth too. The truth can be uncomfortable. The truth can be a hard pill to swallow. You know, when you have taken in comforting lies, lies that affirm your ego, lies that tell you that evil is okay, that bad things are okay, that other people are doing evil and it's fine, our own evil that we do is fine, don't worry about it, it's okay. And then the truth becomes a very uncomfortable thing because the truth can convict you. The truth can convict other people. And especially people who are filled with deception, they don't want the truth. They don't like the truth. And if you look at most of the stuff that's popular in the media or on YouTube, it's just a bunch of, you know, slappy happy, feel good, easy to digest, flashy, marketable, charismatic stuff. But underneath all the marketing and the charisma and the charm, there's nothing of value that's being told. There's nothing of value that's being taught, and there's people who need help with problems, who need help with addictions, who need help with dealing with toxic people in their life, who need help with career advice, who need help with relationship advice, people who need help with all this stuff. They need genuine help, and they need to hear the truth. The truth is what's going to set them free and what is going to help them. But instead, it's a bunch of slappy happy, flashy, easy to digest, inoffensive. I mean, that's the big thing about the lies. The truth can be offensive because the truth will attack the evil of the world. And unfortunately, most of the people in the world are enabling evil, enabling deception, and are not really on the side of good. Whether it's being active participants or just being an enabler or a bystander and just wanting to sit on a fence and not get involved, whatever it is, most people are unfortunately on the side of evil and on the side of the deception. I'm not saying you should distrust everybody or hate everybody or, you know, be paranoid or whatever. It's just if you look at the actual state of the world, and hey, if you just read a history book too, look at what's happened in the past and look at what's happened in the present and look at what's going to unfortunately happen in the future, the world's a very evil place. It's filled with lies, deception, and just messed up stuff. So the truth is going to offend a lot of people. It's going to piss a lot of people off, especially because most people have centered their entire life around this lie, and this lie gives them a false sense of morals and ethics as well. You know, morals and ethics, they're not changeable. It's God's law. You can't change it. You can't move it. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And, you know, for a lot of people, that's not very convenient because that's going to tell them that they have to change their ways. That's going to tell them that they have to change their habits. That's going to tell them that they can't enable certain things that are going on around them. You know, that's going to tell them all that stuff. And that's not convenient. That's not easy to digest. That might require them to actually stand up and fight for something, stand up and fight for themselves, stand up and fight against temptation. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that, you know? So when you start to tell the truth, they feel threatened by it and they want to shut it down. And they have bought into this this false morality, which is convenient for the messed up, the messed up rulers of this world. It's convenient for their own ego. So when you tell them the truth and you tell them like, hey, all these things you believe in are false, you know, and the thing is, they really believe in the lie. Like they think that the truth is a lie, and they think that a lie is the truth, and they're really convinced of this. Like really, like this is their core belief system and their core identity. And when you call this out, like it's an attack against their entire identity. And I know a lot of people like this, and most of this stuff comes from politics these days, especially. That's just kind of the way it is. But if you start kind of telling truth, their whole worldview becomes shattered because they are enabling falsehood, believing in falsehood, and having this false moral code that they live by. And that's really the real deal. And the thing is, it's really hard to find truth because of this. I mean, there's several junctures I've had in my life where I needed the truth. When it comes to who Jesus really is, what the spiritual reality of things are. The spiritual reality is the reality. What really is the reality of our realm and the universe? I needed that truth. And the world did not want to give that to me. And don't get me started on the church. It's whatever. It's a Jesus puppet that the devil's dangling in front of them. It's not the real Jesus. Don't get me started on that. But I needed that truth. And the world made it as hard as humanly possible for me to get that truth. I needed the truth about bad people, toxic people, narcissists, stuff like that. I was dealing with that. Again, it was very hard for me to find the truth. But when I was ready for the truth and I was ready to accept it, the truth came to me. There's some addictions I've dealt with. Lust mainly. I'm dealing with this now, but it was very, very hard for me to find the truth. Most people said it was okay, or there's too much shame to even talk about it, or anything like that. And now I finally have found the truth about that. And I'll talk more about that later. I want to, progress more on my journey of that before I speak on that too much. But I found the truth. And the thing is the videos that are telling you a lie and are telling you some slappy, happy, marketable buzzwords, hundreds of thousands of views, millions of views. The videos that are telling you the truth, hundreds of views, maybe 1,000 views at most. And I'm like, man, the truth is kind of in the margins. That's where you're going to find the truth of things, is in the margins. You're going to have to really dig, especially with conspiracies and stuff like that. I've had to really dig in some deep holes to really find out, okay, what is really going on in the world? What's going on with, the Illuminati and, Epstein, and what is really happening with Bohemian Grove and all that stuff. Look into it. Again, that's an uncomfortable truth that a lot of people just don't want to hear about, because their whole political, left versus right dichotomy, that shatters that apart and breaks that apart, and breaks apart their worldview and breaks apart something that they've invested so much of their personality, their soul, their energy into. And they don't want it broken apart. And again, they fundamentally believe that deception is true and that truth is deception. So when you talk to these people, you'll tell them, you're like, yeah, this is the truth of what's going on, and I have evidence and receipts to show it. They're like, no, it's not. All that's fake. No, it's the other way around. I've had these conversations with people, and it's like their brain just kind of short circuits. They can't even hear it, People are waking up, though. People are waking up and are starting to be able to hear this stuff, luckily, but your average person still can't even hear these kinds of things or even have these kind of conversations about things, unfortunately. And look, here's the thing. Most of what the world offers us is deception. The world offers us materialism. The world offers us social status. The world offers us pleasure and lust and gluttony and, greed and all this type of stuff. And we're like, yes, I'm going to have a lot of material possessions and I'm going to be happy. And that's not the truth. That's not the truth. Look, you want to be successful. You don't want to be lacking in life. You want to have a bountiful harvest, if you will. But this whole idea that you're gonna finally get the Porsche and you're gonna finally be happy, and I'll look at some of these luxury cars, these Porsches, these Mercedes, and I'll get physically sick to my stomach, because it's like, I know that's a lie. I know that's fake. I know that's just like a joke, And I've got a funny history story about this. Maybe not that funny, but it involves Attila the Hun, so maybe it's not that funny. But, Attila the Hun was he was, he was, in his time, the most feared man in the world. Rome was afraid of him. Everyone was scared of him. He had this big, huge army. He had good tactics. No one wanted to deal with this guy. And the thing is, he would just eat raw meat on a board. And, his horses were just normal. They didn't have adornments. But his lieutenants and his, his people underneath him, their horses had all this fancy stuff on them. They had all this fancy clothes. They were eating all this fancy food. But for him, he's like, what do I need that for? That's stupid. Like, I'm the most powerful man in the world, and I know materialism's BS. Now, he's one of the few people I would say that's like that. Most powerful people in the world love materialism and fall into that, but he knew that was BS. That wasn't going to make him happy. That wasn't going to help him. That wasn't going to do anything for him. And look, you want to have the tools you need in life. Material things are not necessarily inherently evil. It's just people make it into their God. People really do make it into their God. And then there's social status. You're going to have high social status. What's high social status really? People pleasing. Other people are going to like me. Other people are going to respect me. Other people are going to think they're cool. And I'm going to put on this whole performance. And I'm going to make sure that I have a good job and a good apartment. And then I look good on the outside so other people will approve of me. It's like you have to approve of yourself and care about yourself and, have self-esteem and self-respect. You can't be expecting other people to give that to you, and you can't make your whole life some performance. And the thing about social climber people is, like, they're always trying to be in the in crowd. So if they decide that you're not cool anymore, or, you're not, like, a good look for them to be hanging around, they'll dump you. And then they'll try to hang around some new friends, because with these social climber people, it's all just a performance to get other people to like them. And so many people live their life for social status, man. And I'm telling you, like, I've met people who seek a lot of social status, and they're not happy people. A lot of them are pretty narcissistic, to be honest. And a lot of them are pretty depressed and empty on the inside. Because they didn't seek the things that were actually valuable. And then in terms of, physical pleasure, lust, hedonism, whatever, I've struggled with that a lot in the past, and I'm still currently dealing with that. It's a tough thing to overcome for me. It is what it is. It's my personal struggle. I'll just be honest about that. But, that whole thing is like, it's just momentary. It's going to fade away. And then once you have one, pleasurable, hedonistic, whatever, once you have one thing, you get bored of it. Then you got to try a new thing. Another thing, you're just looking for a new drug, whether that's metaphorical or actually, literal. All this hedonism, pleasure seeking, you're just looking for a new drug. That's all it is, but the world tells us that, like, you're going to find heaven and all this stuff. Like, if you have a bunch of money, you'll finally be happy and all your problems will go away and everything will be great. If you have social status and everybody likes you and you're popular and you say all the right things and you have all the right opinions, you're finally going to be fulfilled. You're finally going to be happy. You're finally going to reach paradise. If you have all the pleasures in the world and all the sensory stuff and all the dopamine hits to your brain that you could possibly imagine, you'll finally be happy. You'll finally be fulfilled. You won't. You really won't. And man, the world tells us so many other lies. The world tells us lies about our own identity and about who we are. We're created by God in His divine image, and we are empowered by Him. The world does not want us to think that. The world just wants us to think that we're, just some clump of cells that's just nihilistically, living in a chaotic void, and that we're just born from chaos, and somehow that chaos managed to formulate and create us, and we just came from nowhere and nothing. And if we came from nowhere and nothing, we are nowhere and we are nothing, and nothing matters, and there's not morals or ethics or a mission for us in life or purpose or order or anything like that. And deep down, that's what most people believe, even people who are religious. deep down in their heart, it's the truth. The world wants us to have no faith and to just be filled with doubt and to feel like everything is meaningless and pointless. That's the nihilism of the world, and a lot of people are caught up in that mentality of there's no point, what's the point, what's the reason, why even bother, and that's a total lie. Everything we do has meaning, from little mundane things to big things. By the way, I'm seeing a 404 on a license plate in front of me. I see a lot of repeating number patterns. 404 has to do with something being knocked out. 404 error not found, something being knocked out, something being gotten rid of. I could talk about that in some other videos. I'm not going to get off track here, but there's deep meaning and deep symbology and deep, like everything, every moment in our life, whether it feels meaningful or not, everything we do has meaning. Every action we do will cause something positive or negative. I mean, like life is a story, Life is a story. Life is this rich tapestry. But they don't want us to think that. That's why they build these boring buildings, build these boring cars, you work a boring job, you watch a bunch of boring junk on TV. That's why. Because they don't want you to actually, see life as meaningful or see anything as meaningful. Again, the lie of nihilism. And nihilism is a complete lie. It's a complete untruth. And that's deep down what you're going to find with most people. I mean, for real. And the thing is also, we lie about ourselves too. Like, one thing I've been realizing is, I have a great capacity for good, but I also have a great capacity for evil. And I wasn't honest with myself about things that tempted me, or what I could be capable of doing to destroy myself, or maybe even destroy others. Who knows, But I was not being honest about that stuff. And most people, they are going to repress that and shove that down and just play pretend. Even with trauma that's happened to them, they're going to play pretend. They're going to act like they're going to minimize it, act like it wasn't a big deal, or just go so overboard on the victim thing that they don't take any personal accountability anymore. That's one big deception that people do, is a victim mentality. It's like, yeah, a lot of us have been through trauma. I know I have. We've had bad things happen to us, been in situations we didn't want to be in, It's happened, but that's not going to be an excuse for my own mistakes. That's not going to be some way that I don't have to take, accountability for my own actions, Yeah, I still have accountability for my own actions, and I need to, take ownership of what I do and stuff. Come on. But that's another big one. And for a lot of people also with trauma, they act like it never happened. It never happened. It was fine. It was okay. They lie to themselves. They lie to themselves about others, that have a capacity for evil and that have exercised that capacity for evil and have negatively affected their life and the life of others around them. But they enable and they say it's fine and it's okay because they don't want to face what's happened to them. They don't want to face what's happened in the world or in their community or in their family or people around them, what's happened to their general environment around them. They don't want to face that. They don't want to deal with that, so they say it's fine. It's fine, it's okay. And it's not okay. It's not okay at all. And then, people don't want to take accountability for their own actions, for their own mistakes, for the ways they've harmed themselves and harmed others. So they say, oh, it's not a problem. It wasn't a big deal. It's okay. I had an excuse. I had a reason. I've heard so many people say this stuff. Well, it's okay when I did it. And it's like, well, if they did the same thing to you, how would you feel? Not good, but this is where most people are living, in self-deception. Oh, they're going to talk about how their ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, it was all entirely their fault and, stuff like that. And look, people have relationships and, everyone's relationship is different. And, some people have definitely been put through trauma by their, wife or husband or girlfriend or, boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. That's definitely happened, but I've definitely heard some people that, probably didn't put their best foot forward in their relationship, and they're just going to blame everything on the other person because they don't want to take personal accountability. And I just got to sit there and be like, yeah, sure, okay. But we've all met people like this. We've all been around people like this and have heard this type of stuff, Because again, the truth that they need to make some improvements, the truth that they were a part of the problem, that's too painful for them. They can't accept that. They can't accept accountability for their own actions. They can't accept that they were deceived, tricked, It's embarrassing to be deceived and tricked. You feel like a sucker. You feel like a chump. I've felt that way a lot in life. It happens, but it's like if I'm just going to lie to myself, the deception's going to continue. I'm going to keep being a chump and a sucker. Like, why would I lie to myself about what happened? And that's the thing. It's like people can't face it. They can't face down their own twisted desires. They can't face down their own capacity for evil. They can't face down the fact that they have flaws. They can't face down the fact that they could be doing better. They can't face down that they've been through trauma and that have been hurt by other people. They can't face down that they've made mistakes. So they continue the deception. They continue the deception, and this happens in people's individual lives and in people's small families and communities. And this happens, in global politics. In global politics on a mass scale. I mean, the government lies to us like crazy. I don't trust them. And it's just like with the government and with, the broader society and culture as a whole, it's just like everyone goes along with it and everyone enables it. And so you kind of have to too. You don't want to get in trouble. And people just go, it's the way it is. Or they try to say, well, I made some social media post. I'm making a change. It's just like whatever, Whatever. And that's the truth, is most people prefer the lie over the truth, even though the lie will condemn them to hell, which it will. And the truth will set them free. And will give them heaven. Will give them paradise. But they're like, no, the lie is going to give me heaven. The lie is going to give me paradise. I will achieve transcendence through the lie. You won't. You'll achieve a false transcendence that will not last a long time, and then you'll end up worse than you were before. And your soul may end up in hell for all eternity, living according to a lie. But the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free, but the truth is not very popular. The truth is not spoken about. It's not written about a lot in books. It's not spoken a lot. It's not spoken about a lot, or if at all, on television. It's hard to find on social media. It's hard to find on YouTube. It's tough to find in the people around you, but the truth is out there, and it is 100% worth pursuing. The truth is worth more than any amount of money. The truth is worth more than any physical pleasure. The truth is worth more than anybody's opinions of you. The truth is worth more than all of that. So thank you all so much for watching. Much love, God bless, and I will see you all next time.